Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, conventional productivity advice just doesn't work for you? You've read the articles, you've watched the YouTube videos, and they tell you to prioritize your tasks, to choose one project at a time and stick with it, to follow a strict routine to keep you productive. But it feels like if you follow it, you're forcing yourself into a mold that just wasn't made for you. And if this sounds familiar, then you're not alone. First up, I just want to say that the problem isn't you. And the problem isn't necessarily with the advice either. It's just that typically more popular advice doesn't account for a personality like yours. One that thrives on variety, passion, and endless curiosity. You are a multi-passionate person, also known as a multipotentialite, a scanner, renaissance person, generalist. These words basically just describe a person with a wide range of interests, talents, and skills who struggle to commit to a single pursuit at any time. As a multi-passionate person, you don't need help finding something to do. You need help managing all of the things that you're passionate about. And you don't need a rigid routine to make you productive. In fact, you actually need flexibility and variety. And what you might have considered procrastination is most likely just a response to being overwhelmed by too many possibilities and feeling forced to choose just one. Hi, my name is Jeannie, fellow multi-passionate here, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the challenges that us multi-passionates face and why conventional productivity advice just doesn't suit people like us. And more importantly, I'll share some strategies that you can use that will help make such advice actually work for you. All right, so you want to be productive, but you have many things that you want to do. You have many different things that you are passionate about at any given time. Your interests are vast, your hobbies endless, and you've got so much passion for multiple different projects that you're not exactly sure what you should do to make progress on all these different things. So like most people, you probably turn to productivity advice. But what do you usually find? Pick one thing and stick with it. Pick the thing that you're good at, or finish one project before you start another. And let me tell you, as someone who's struggled with this, it just simply doesn't work. When I was younger, I was so anxious about the idea of just choosing one major to study in college or choosing one career to work at for the rest of my life. So I read countless self-help books about finding your one true passion in life before I realized that I'm just not built to follow one path, and that's okay. Forcing yourself to choose just one passion is going to lead to regret. You feel like you're neglecting all your other interests, and the dreaded FOMO sets in. I've got good news for you. You do not have to choose just one thing. Not everyone is meant to focus on one thing at a time. So instead of trying to fit into that single focused mind, we need flexibility. It's okay to rotate between different projects and explore multiple interests, as long as you have a system that helps you to manage everything. I recommend you start by creating a master list of all the interests, all the hobbies, all the projects that you have going on or that you have done before. And this comes up a lot in the book, How to Be Everything, a book all about being a multi-passionate and trying to navigate the world as a person with multiple interests. And it's a really, really helpful strategy to try and get a nice visualization of everything that's going on in your mind, all the things that you want to do, that you have done, that you are trying to do, so you can get some perspective on the things that you feel are at the height of their passion right now, or things that you feel the passion is at its lowest point that maybe you'll visit later, or things that you are tired of and you want to quit altogether. You don't need to finish a project before starting a new one. And in fact, I feel like when you push yourself to finish something or to do something, when the passion just isn't there, that's when you're going to start to hate it or get super tired of it to the point that you won't want to do it anymore. And that also means that whatever new passion that has been just hammering away at your brain, begging for your attention, is going to get neglected as well. And one tool that I highly recommend from Barbara Sher's Refuse to Choose is the Scanner Daybook. It's basically just a blank notebook where you can fill up the pages with all of your new ideas. Now, I know as a multi-passionate, one thing that you have no shortage of is ideas. And oftentimes you'll be trying to do something and a new idea just forces its way into your mind. And you either go one of two ways. You jump down a rabbit hole head first and you end up losing a bunch of time on this new idea, and maybe it works out and maybe it doesn't. Or two, you just try to push it down, ignore it, and then later you feel regretful because you don't remember parts of it, or you feel like maybe you should have given it just even a little bit of attention. So the Scanner Daybook is your place to write down some ideas. Dedicate like a whole double page spread to whatever project is blossoming in your mind. Write down all the notes, draw some pictures, add whatever you need to. Just give that idea some attention. And this could just be for 5 minutes. It could be a nice short time. And it feels really good just to give attention to these new ideas instead of just trying to ignore them because you feel like you don't have time for them, or you feel guilty because you haven't finished something else first. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I've got my list of interests, projects, and hobbies. I know I don't have to just choose one, but I just have so many things that I want to do that I end up doing nothing. One of my viewers commented about this exact issue, and I felt it so deeply because it's something that I have struggled with for as long as I can remember. And while rereading Refuse to Choose, I realized it's a very common issue among multi-passionates. Now, a lot of traditional advice recommends to prioritize tasks. And this was always my biggest challenge because I cannot prioritize my hobbies, interests, or projects. Sure, I can do that with work stuff, but when it comes to my passions, how can I rank them based on importance? I can barely even rank them based on my level of passion for them. So what we need is a system that breaks down our many pursuits into actionable steps or manageable tasks to help us avoid the overwhelm that we feel when it comes to choosing what to do with our free time. So after making your master list of all of your pursuits, what you can do is take each individual one and break them down. Try to figure out what exactly goes into each one and then what manageable task you could do. Imagine that you just have 10 minutes of free time. What is the best way that you could spend your 10 minutes on this one pursuit to make progress on it? Now, for example, one of my main projects is this YouTube channel. So if I am faced with some free time and my list just says YouTube channel, I'm going to have no idea what to do. So I'm going to make a list. I'm going to break it down into like a project manager type template. And I'm going to figure out first the video ideas that I have, and then each step towards completing those videos in their own like individual lists. And that way, when I do decide I'm going to spend this free time doing YouTube, I can figure out, okay, well, I have 30 minutes. That's enough time to do this task, this task, this task. If you are the kind of person that feels like, oh, if I focus on this project, then maybe I'm going to want to start to do this one. Just tell yourself to just do one or two tasks in this one first, and then when you get bored or if you don't feel like doing it anymore, you can switch to another one. So again, let's say that I was doing the YouTube task for 30 minutes. After that 30 minutes, I'm a little burnt out. I don't want to do it anymore. I go back to my list. I see that I have my Korean study list ready for me. Okay, well, it says I should focus on chapter 4 of my writing book. Great, I can do that. And you might need to add in a little bit of pre-planning. I'm a big planner myself. I like to try and predict what I can do in a week. And of course, this changes quite often, but if the night before or like the Sunday before your week, you just gotta make a rough outline of exactly what you want to focus on. Take, 4 or 5 different projects, take a couple different hobbies, give yourself some options. So when you do have free time, you're not faced with this entire master list of things to do, but just a few actionable steps of a few projects that you genuinely want to make progress on. This approach has helped me a lot to reduce overwhelm, which led to the decision paralysis. Oftentimes, I would just end up scrolling on my phone instead of working on my projects because I just didn't know where to start. Plus, you're not locking yourself into one thing. You can always switch tasks at any time. And yeah, something I do all the time. Okay, so You have your master list of all of the things you're going to focus on. You have broken them down into manageable tasks, but you still find yourself struggling to be productive in the free time that you have. Everyone faces challenges with productivity. That's why there's so much productivity advice out there. One piece of advice that I often struggle a lot with is about following a strict routine. I desperately need help with time management, and I love time blocking techniques. I just struggle to stick to them sometimes because I am very feeling and passion driven. And that's because a lot of multi-passionates, we thrive on variety. We love change. We love things to be different, even day by day. And now when you are working a job, if you're working a 9 to 5, if you've got kids and other responsibilities, you need to follow some sort of routine. So let's focus on your personal free time, the time that you want to use, that you have free to use to be productive. Now, you can still use time management strategies. You just don't have to be so rigid. And in fact, I think you should be flexible and give yourself some options. Now, I was actually first inspired by this one YouTuber who was making advice for people with ADHD. I feel like it really resonates with multi-passionates too. And it's all about creating different routines based on energy levels. So when you're feeling energized and you're ready to tackle a lot, you can create that high productivity schedule. But then you also are going to have mid to low energy days, and you want to have a backup plan for how you can spend those too with lowered standards. And this gives you the flexibility that you need, so that way you're still making progress towards something. Now, as multi-passionates, we should design schedules based on the different type of pursuits we want to focus on. So in my mind, my passions are often divided into 3 categories, which is interests, typically things that I'm studying or trying to learn, projects, which might be like business ideas or something like YouTube, writing, and 3, hobbies, which are very much brain off. I can do anytime, helps me relax, refills my battery. So I will have 3 different kinds of schedules based on these things. So if it's something like an interest, something I'm trying to learn, or something I'm trying to learn more about, I will have a certain time blocking schedule based on that. Whereas if it's something more project based, that's usually my kind of high energy type days. I need a lot of energy to work on my personal projects. So that's usually my high productivity kind of schedule. Whereas for the interests, things that I'm learning would be the mid energy level, and then my hobbies are the low energy level. And now all of these things, I don't rank them in terms of importance. I usually just think of them in terms of energy consumption, brain activity consumption. Now, one thing that I do recommend is to include time for inspiration. Plan your own little field trips. Give yourself something to look forward to. I would recommend at least once a week. Take a field trip, go somewhere that gives you inspiration, that makes you happy, that gives you that extra blast of dopamine. As multi-passionates, we get inspiration from many different places, usually just from our own minds, but it's good to get out there and give yourself something to experience, right? Something to look forward to. One of the best pieces of advice out there that I think fits for everybody is to give yourself rest days. And it's even more important for multi-passionates because we have so much going on in our brains. I think you probably just tire yourself out from thinking most days. You need to take a break every now and then, or else, yeah, you'll start to feel overwhelmed. Now, the last challenge I want to talk about is wishing that we could be specialists. Wishing that we did just have one passion, because it's exhausting to be focusing on so many different things. And it's tough, especially when the people around us, like our family and our friends, they see us bouncing between these different projects and ideas, having intense interest in something one day and then dropping it the next, and they just call us flighty. At these times, you just have to remember we're wired differently. We are divergent thinkers, and our mind just works in this chaotic way because that's how we were born. And if you want to, you can try to take on a more specialist path, but deep down, you probably already know that it's not going to make you happy. So the first step is just accepting who you are. And when it comes to other people, you just have to remember that how you feel about yourself is more important than how others perceive you. So if you're able to be accepting of who you are and the way that you function, what others think of you isn't going to matter as much. And you can explain your personality type and how you function to those who matter. But for others, it's not worth worrying about. Some people are just not going to accept it, they're just not going to understand, and there's nothing you can do. But now that you have a label for what you are and how you feel, you can dive deeper into this subject on your own too. I recommend starting with the 2 books, How to Be Everything and Refuse to Choose, following this YouTube channel, and you'll feel more understood and find advice that actually works for you. Thanks as always for watching. I hope you guys were able to get something out of this video. Let me know if you have any strategies that you've tried that have worked really well that you think would work for other multi-passionates, or if you just want to share your own personal story, please do so down below. I would love to hear from you. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.